Thanks, Don. Good morning. I think I'm mic'd. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So, perfect. Thanks. So I'm going to be going through a couple of slides showing you some work. But if it's not working for you guys, just raise your hand, ask me questions as we go along, because it's your time. So just let me know. I'm going to try and remove as much marketing jargon out of this thing as possible and kind of get down to what we do. So the agency itself has been around for just over 4 years. It was started by an ad guy, Barry Krause. If you Google him, you'll see that he is a pretty serious guy in the ad world. But what he started seeing is that the industry was changing, and it's been changing more and more in the last 5 years and the last 15 years. I've been in this business just over 20 years. When there was the kind of the 1.0 in late 90s, everybody's rushing to get a website. Well, world's changing. The world has just exploded since then. You know, there was Google search that then kind of woke marketers up a little bit, but social has completely transformed and changed the game. And the reason for that is, if you take some of the kind of packaged goods brands, P&G, pick your poison there, a lot of those brands had planning cycles for a single TV spot of 2 years plus. So from when the creatives concepted that to when it actually went on air, that was about 2 years. That doesn't work today, right? Because brands now have kind of identified that you've got to be able to connect with the consumer, which means that there's going to be a conversation that comes back. Now, what happens when something comes back to the brand? What do you do about that? So you have to respond, and you have to respond in a way that feels like it is part of the brand, and it's natural and it's authentic. So that's really why we developed this concept of Live Lab, to kind of bring that conversation into a place where the brand exists as a part of the conversation, but it's not trying to dominate, it's not trying to lead, it's not trying to insert its point of view in it. So we're trying to do things a little bit differently. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And what we're finding along the way is that we're breaking a lot of new ground, especially in interactive. So we did a sweep of the Emmy Awards last year in interactive category. We've also picked up the CES Award, South by Southwest Digital. So what we're seeing is that we're kind of being recognized along the way, which is also helping us map out, are we doing the right thing, are we doing wrong things, what can we learn? So just to get into kind of how we go about creating this. So what we're grounded in is not interrupting. So when you watch an ad on TV, how do you feel when you're watching that ad? Do you feel like you're involved in it?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's engaging, and it depends on what ad I'm watching, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you get an opportunity to kind of interact during that TV spot? How would you do that?
Twitter.
Exactly. So this idea of kind of marketing plus and advertising plus, and then there's Twitter, there's all sorts of other social mediums where if the brands are truly engaged and paying attention, they can kind of bring consumers along the way and be part of their lives every single day, and not just wait for this one little TV spot to come in, hopefully shake the world up, hopefully get people to store to buy things. It's about really being interested in what they're interested in. So I'll show you, when we play a couple of videos later, I'll show you some of what we do. This idea of wow invisible actually plays out a lot with the folks that work with us. Because our staff includes videographers, photographers, audio folks, production folks, carpenters, chefs. There's a whole range of people, and in some cases the wow component is to really shake things up. So when people walk into the Live Lab, they get this sense of adventure and surprise and delight. But at the same time, there's also a lot of kind of capturing that's happening, because we're filming a lot of this. And a lot of the filming and capture happens in a very invisible form. So people don't feel like, you know, someone's like watching you, there's a camera in my face. So it allows there to be kind of more of a natural participation to occur. So that idea is something that we try and execute time and time again. Make more love, that's all about the brands, right? So this idea of getting closer to customers and making more love over time and forming a connection is really the end game for us. Some of the clients that we've worked with, I don't know if you folks saw this about 2 years ago. Nike was remodeling its flagship store on Michigan Avenue. And what we worked with them on is there's the Field House, which is on the Cell in Stockton, and that became the Nike Fuel House. And what that happened to do was to get people involved in a key new product that they were trying to launch and get out there, because what they were trying to do is sell a lot of products, sell a lot of shoes, right? So how do we transform from rubber into digital so that we have a connection with people over time? So things like the Fuel Band were released during that time. The Nike Plus enabled shoes were released during that time. So why would that matter to Nike? Why would having a digital presence matter to Nike? What are your thoughts?
Nowadays, people like, I don't know how to put it on. Things digital basically.
Okay, so there's the interactive. That's good. So facing, that's what's really important, is get people involved, get people in the action. The other key business reason for that is what happens when you sign up for a Nike Plus account or Fuel Band. They have all the data, right? So you're using the device, sharing the data. They know how you're interacting over the day. They know what new products may be appealing to you. So this idea of connecting data in marketing and digital and interaction becomes a really key component of our brands are showing up. A key part of how we kind of did this in Chicago, and this was even before the Fuel House came to life, was trying to get a conversation out in Chicago. Now, Nike is obviously all about competition, right? And a really key competitive idea in Chicago as you ramp up from spring into summer is baseball. And in Chicago, there's two teams, right? You're either north side or you're south side, and you've got to pick one. So we worked with the Cubs and Sox when they were down in training camp and put together the following video, which was then shared via Twitter when we were done.
North side. North side. South side. South side. Do it for the north side. However you do it, whatever it takes. Make it count. Make it count. Whose side are you on? I'm more for the north side. You guys don't care if you win or lose. What? Pick a side. South side. Whose side are you on? North side, blue. I guarantee you they don't have these on the north side. Let's go off your ass. Let's go. Whose side are you on?
Good job.
So thank you. So a little bit about that video is, so there's the obvious call to action at the end, hashtag north side, south side. But what I was hoping that you'd see that would be a little bit different in that is, so AJ, you saw him spit during that video, right? That's not something that you'd normally see in any kind of brand video. But that's where, you know, whatever was natural and whatever felt like this was in the action and the heat of training, we wanted to capture. The other thing that was very different, we had a couple of scripts, you know, blocked out before we went down. But what the original allocation was, well, you've got maybe an hour with each team because, you know, these guys are working hard. And what ended up happening is that both Cubs and Sox were really gracious, and we spent a whole day with each team. So a lot of the segments that you saw were just capturing their natural interaction. So when, you know, the guys were giving each other shit during training, that was just something that we picked up and put that video together. So that was kind of a natural collection of people interacting. So that was another piece of, even if you've got a script, tell the story that you see in that moment is another thing that we try and do and bring that to life. And then a lot of the other work that we continue to do for Nike is wherever there is, you know, something going on in Chicago, capture that, help to get the word out, help to get people excited about what's going on in Chicago. And right now we're actually shooting Shy League, which is happening around the city. Who gets excited about washing machines?
Oh, man. Washing
Wow.
machines?
There are two. I've never seen that reaction.
I love washing.
Okay. So for everybody else, so Kenmore, this is actually what kicked off Live Lab for us 4 years ago. Was they'd done a lot of work, they'd invested a lot of money making their product look great, right? So it was all beautiful stainless steel. The appliances work really well. They have great reliability in the industry. But they're facing two key issues. One, wasn't that people didn't like them, it was just like, it's my grandmother's brand, it's not, but it's not for me. So that's a big issue if you're trying to, continue to sell product. The other thing is that the only place that you can buy it is in Sears, right? And Sears traffic is decreasing over time. So what we worked with them on is how do you have a place where people talk about these brands and share it in a way that actually gets people excited. So this image that you see here is something that we did around fashion, and what we did for cooking was there were about 300 chefs that actually passed through that venue, and each of the chefs came in and shared different techniques on how to prepare. And Kenmore was involved in those conversations, obviously because they were the clients, but at no time was the chef trying to sell, which was really important to us. The other thing that was different is that people could interact. So both the audience and people watching online, at any time, if they had a question, chef, why are you cutting the onion that way? Why don't you cut it some other way? Fair game. You interrupt the chef, you do whatever you want. But that helped to make that content different to the thousands of recipe videos that are out there on YouTube right now. With fashion, it was slightly different, right? Because washing machines and dryers are, a really big part of their business, but there is no kind of celebrity launderer out there, right? So how do you get this conversation about washing and drying out to, folks that are going to be your next target audience? So this idea of wrapping a conversation in fashion and having a fashion competition that was based in Chicago, but all of that conversation was happening online, so it was a national conversation as well. And the twist on this, so it was different to some of the other competitions that you've seen out there. It was all about helping the contestants build their own business. So beyond fashion, we know you got those skills, but how do you build business? How do you connect with people? So that separated that a little bit, and that was one of the things that we won the Emmy for. This is a whole lot of marketing stuff. Basically, the program worked, and they got a lot of both attention for the brand and deeper connections with consumers, grew their Facebook page dramatically. They also use a lot of this content within their online e-commerce page. There's a short video that just from a consumer point of view, you'll see both the studio and how we staged it, because what we do at Sweet is not just film and edit, but we'll create the space. So what should the space look like? And we'll work with designers, we'll do the construction and building and everything else ourselves, so that you now have a set. So that when people walk in there, they understand that this is a different space, puts them in a slightly different place, and that allows you then to begin this conversation. So have a look at both the space and some of the activities going on.
I look at Kenmore and I think, my mother and dad, more of my parents' generation. I know about it from forever ago.
Butter to where you listen for it and it'll tell you when it's ready.
One big thing you'll see in all Mediterranean, especially in Greek cooking, is the red onion. It just complements the dish wonderfully.
Use a serrated knife when you're cutting tomatoes.
young, hungry, up-and-coming designers were chosen from some of Chicago's top design schools. Each designer was given a Kenmore sewing machine, 3 days, $75, and no rules, except one. Each design had to be 100% machine washable. With the help of our state-of-the-art Kenmore washers and dryers, they had to prove it.
So the whole theory is to get kids to try new foods they've never experienced. Fabulous show tonight. Ladies and gentlemen.
Beautiful.
Sophisticated.
I'm definitely really interested in that flat top induction stove, but I'm a big foodie and I do love to cook, so it's definitely something I will check out.
I love this concept. It's kind of like, you know, a mini Apple store, but I think it's the way of the future.
It's like a nice IKEA sort of CB2 modern vibe. Definitely a style that I like.
It was like an Apple store, but for appliances.
Incredible.
Fantastic. I'm going to buy a new refrigerator and stove.
Love.
Cool. So that's it. Actually, we're going to be inviting some of your staff across next week to the studio. It's on Huron and Wales. So, well, what we want to do, yeah, so we'll follow up with you guys. But I actually didn't know about this school, so we're excited to see what opportunities exist. World Kitchen, we do a lot of kind of like more traditional ad work with them. So this is an example of a print campaign that we do, but we'll do to get there a lot of photography, a lot of retouching, a lot of graphic design, and then on their Facebook page as well, we do a lot of just like contests and competitions to kind of get people to enter. Craftsman, also interesting, same situation, or similar situation to Kenmore in that a lot of the tools are based in Sears, although they're expanding that now to Ace Hardware. But the bigger problem for them was not that, who's got a smartphone? You all do, right? So that is today's tool. So because you can accomplish anything that you need with that. So in the world of devices, the old hammer and nails and everything else becomes less and less relevant, and those skills are found in few and few in homes, because what the research that this New York Times writer was doing was the number of tools that your grandfather has is more than your father's, more than Hugh. So this idea of doing DIY in your home is becoming kind of a lost skill. So for a brand like Craftsman, that becomes a major issue. So what do you do about that? So this was a campaign that we worked with them on, and actually a couple of the other agencies as well, because this was a really big program, was how do you get this idea of DIY and relevance to, you know, new generation? And how do you make it kind of relevant and less scary? Because a lot of the kind of research we're picking up is like, I don't want to do this stuff, I'm scared I'm going to break something, or I don't know how to do this, no one's here to teach me. But a lot of the tools today are actually automated, so you don't even have to swing a hammer anymore. There's a tool that you just push a button and it hammers a nail in right for you, or there's a tool that, you know, shoots a nail right in for you. So a lot of the tools themselves are so much easier than the ones that you used in the past, but people just don't know about this. So what we needed was a program that kind of just connected with people in a fun way. So what Scrooge set about to do was to find the world's most unhandy handyman. And, you know, with the help of the Craftsman community, which was the other important thing, is that online, Craftsman has the largest digital presence of any tool brand in the world. They have more Facebook fans, they have a stronger e-commerce base, they have a larger email base, so that, you know, digitally they're very, very strong, which also helped us get the word out for this. And we wanted to reward folks that were already Craftsman members with being able to educate somebody that was just starting out and learning. So both people that knew nothing about tools and people that knew a lot about tools were kind of engaged in this program. And it's going to be easier to watch this little fun video.
The Craftsman World of DIY Broadcast Network presents This year, we're going to take one man, a man that's not so handy, and transform him into a fully capable, finely tuned handyman. Over the course of 3 months, he'll be faced with grueling tool challenges, take part in extreme survival tests, and be dropped in the middle of nowhere, alone, to fend for himself. To get out alive, he'll only have your help and the right set of tools to rely on. Because without both, he's not just in trouble, he's screwed.
Stop laughing, Anna! What, they said 10 weeks? I give him till about week 3. Some of my best units, what do you think?
Thought it was unnecessary that I had to make my own bed.
And this guy, Rob North, works for us, so he was the guy giving him help.
Alan, I saw you start doing some things. I think we can fix those. All right. As a matter of fact, I think that America can learn from what we're about to talk about. I showed you a few things. We're going to see if you guys can put them to the test.
Okay.
Hurry up, Alan! How freaking crazy, Alan! Keep going! Beautiful! I think Alan has it. Oh!
My name's Alan, by the way. For the next 2 days, you'll have a very difficult mission. So your mission is to build a raft to get you to safety. I think somebody just shot a gun. Here goes. Direction to head, you'll need to ask the online audience first. Atlee Jackson says I need to get 3,280 feet south-southwest. Oh, it's a coyote. That's not promising. There you go.
Sponsors of Screwed, the real-time interactive reality show that encourages you to give an unhandy guy named Alan tips to get him through a series of challenges alive. Now, a couple of days ago, Alan was sitting innocently in his apartment in his pajamas. Two men blindfolded him, threw him in the back of an SUV, and dropped him off in the middle of the desert alone. His only way out was to build a dune buggy, but the parts were scattered all over the desert. And I'm pleased to report Alan survived thanks to the advice he got via Twitter and Facebook, and he is here now with us tonight to talk about his adventure. Here he is. Hello, Alan. Hello, Alan. You were selected for this because you're not good with tools, right?
Yeah.
Terrible with tools. Do you at least know how to use an Allen wrench?
I did after taking some classes here.
Okay, good, because it would be ironic if you didn't. And how did you get selected for this?
There's an open audition thing online, and I just submitted myself.
And they just were looking for the person who knew least about tools?
Yeah, the only thing I knew how to do was tighten things, basically.
Okay, very good. Well, now it's time for your next challenge. I would like you to reach behind you and grab the reciprocating saw. Do you know which one that is?
Yes, I do.
All right. There you go. Now we've put a giant sandwich on the table. I'd like you to use the reciprocating saw to cut that sandwich in half. And I'd like it in a triangle.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
There we go. It's a great way to make your kids' school lunches, by the way.
Oh, geez.
Wow. Beautifully done. Nice job, Alan. We'll check out enjoy the sandwich and try not to hurt yourself, all right?
We've come all the way to Joplin, Missouri to help these people make a house for some tornado victims.
Yesterday, Alan did pretty good for a first day. The community needs it, and we greatly appreciate it. And the students appreciate it as well. This has been an awesome experience for all of us.
You know, it's just nice, not just learning new skills, but to learn it for a reason.
I'd like to welcome our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Ty Pennington.
Okay, so I'd like to introduce Alan from Screwed. Sorry, you saw the baby laugh. I don't know why, because, okay.
Is it my face?
So that's the end of the section that kind of just talks a bit about suite. The next part I'm going to get into is who works with us and the cast. So it kind of just gives you a little bit of background of who the kind of folks that we look to hire and who we look to be a part of what we do. So we have an Imagination Arts Lab, and there's a group of storytellers. So we have videographers, we have photographers, we have writers, we have editors who are both, shooting, editing, directing, all of the great work that you just saw up there. Then obviously design is a really key component as well. So we have designers who are skilled at both, traditional graphics and then also web design, and increasingly mobile as well. And then the creative activists. So you saw within a lot of these programs, there were folks who were welcoming at the door, getting the production of the show done. There were chefs involved, there were carpenters involved, and there were also influencers. And what I mean by that is a lot of folks that we bring into the studio don't necessarily work with us or for us, but they have something that they're passionate about. And it's a great opportunity to bring them in and share their knowledge. So the chefs are an example of that. And what the chefs really enjoyed about coming to the studio is that they didn't have to sell anything. They got a great video made that they could use to publicize about themselves on their own social channels. And that worked really well for the brands as well. So this idea of just being aware of your surroundings and bringing different people in that can all help get the work done in a way that kind of helps everybody out is also key. To my background as well, I started off as an intern for General Motors, and being an intern is both frustrating because you don't necessarily have a place, but it's also one of the greatest opportunities that's ever going to be presented to you, because a lot of the time you're going to be moving across departments or getting to be at a place for a little bit and then you move on. So you get a great sense of, is this really what I want to do, right? So I have that gut check. And then within the different departments or industries that you work in, what works for you? I mean, you may find that you love, the craziness of retail, or you may want to sit back a little bit and have more of a kind of a long-term view on the consumer side. So consumer packaged goods may be an area that you want to get into. Sports. That's why the internship just really kind of lends itself to that. And then along the way, you're going to find things that you're good at and figure that out fast. In my own personal experience, for me, it's not going to work for you guys, but for me, analytics was a big piece that set me apart from my fellow marketers, and it helped me identify trends and opportunities to connect with consumers, and that's been something I've taken through my entire career. A piece that really brings me great joy in this industry, which you don't necessarily get as a banker or something else, is this idea that you can actually do something, and once it's done, you have a real product to show, right? So we've got beautiful video, we've created something. So this idea of creation was something that I've always been passionate about. I'm a woodworker on the side, also love to cook. Just having something that you can say, I did this, was something, and still is something that I really love to do. And this is an industry that allows you to do that. The other thing about this industry is have a thick skin, right? You are gonna, think about the creative process. It takes a lot of time and energy, and what you're doing is you're creating this beautiful thing, and then you're handing it across to somebody to judge you, right? Because you're gonna give it to your boss, or you're gonna give it to your client, and they're gonna go, wow, that's fantastic. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. That will never happen, right? Right? It's gonna get torn apart over and over again. So you're going to have to learn how do you work to refine the product and not lose the vision. How do you make yourself open enough to take the feedback and to move the creative process along, because creative work, especially now, is much more iterative and involves many more people than used to happen in this industry 20 years ago. So get used to working with others, get used to people shitting all over your work, because that's just part of what this industry is. But the benefits is that you will be able to work with anybody if you just persevere, right? And focus on the work and make the work better, because that's the most important thing. That'll win you the awards, that'll get you the recognition. So yeah, hang in there.